Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making some gluten-free cranberry orange bread. And I kind of wanted to do this because Thanksgiving just happened and I had leftover cranberries and I'm like, well, what can I do to utilize this? And I knew cranberry orange bread existed. I've never made it myself, so I was like, let me kind of do some Googling, find a recipe that looks good, and then we can give that a go. It did not actually use as much cranberries as I thought it was going to, so I still have more. So I might be making a number of these loaves to just try and burn through that because it's good. The other thing that I'll point out is this is a gluten-free specific recipe, so it uses gluten-free flour. So if you are not gluten-free, you might need to find a different recipe. I didn't really look at any non-gluten-free recipes to see like what the ratios are, but I don't think you can necessarily just swap flour in for gluten-free flour in this. You might be able to. I'm not 100% sure on that. So if you want to give that a go, by all means. If not, there's tons of recipes online. So just find one that has gluten in it and it should work well for you there. Now, if you are gluten-free and you want to make this recipe, I will say you need a kitchen scale. So if you don't have a kitchen scale, you're also going to need to properly find another recipe because this is an Australian recipe. And so everything's in grams. And if you don't have a kitchen scale, it's really hard to measure things in grams unless you have a real keen sense of like weight. But I would also recommend getting a kitchen scale, like if you don't have one, because in baking you want to have very exact measurements. Weight doesn't change. Volume kind of does change. You can kind of compress things, but weight is weight. Unless you're in a different gravitational field, like if you're in, orbit or something like that, 100 grams is 100 grams. It does not change no matter how much you press down on it. The reason why I went with the recipe that was in all grams versus almost any other one that was not, this one seemed like the most simplistic and kind of like true to like what you would expect to be in this kind of recipe. Some of the other ones had a lot of like different extracts, like there was almond extract, orange extract, and I didn't really want to taste like almonds, and I didn't want to use orange extract. There's just something off about it. You can just tell. So I went with one that just used orange zest and orange juice. And also some of the other ones had like dried cranberries and stuff like that going in there. I'm like, no, I just want fresh because I'm trying to use leftover cranberries that I have from Thanksgiving. So that was kind of my rationale for why I picked this one versus many other ones that are out there. Why don't you now see how it's made, and then we will kind of, do the actual discussion of taste and stuff like that at the end. So stick around to the end for that. But first we're going to run through the ingredients and then we'll get into cooking. Flour, cornstarch, baking powder, salt, baking soda, sugar, oranges, oil, eggs, sour cream, vanilla extract, ginger, cranberries, and powdered sugar. The first step is going to mix together all of the dry ingredients except for the sugar. So that's the flour, the cornstarch, the baking soda, the baking powder, and the salt. Now, if you have really good eyes, you might notice that I did include sugar in what I did, and I messed up. I just kind of went on autopilot mode. Don't add the sugar here, sugar comes later. Next, we're going to chop up the cranberries. Now, I'm not sure what the best way to do this is, but just be safe about it. Don't lose any fingers. Also add in some of the dry mix to the cranberries and just kind of stir that up so that it coats them. Now we're going to zest some oranges. And remember that you just want the zest. You do not want the kind of like white pith that's below that. That has a bitter taste. It's not good. So just kind of be light when you're zesting. Move around. Keep moving. Don't go crazy in one spot. Pretty easy. Now this is the step where the sugar actually comes in, but since I already used the sugar, I'm just going to add in a little extra sugar. But essentially what we're going to be doing is mixing the zest with the sugar, and it kind of releases some of the oils as well as infuses the sugar with the nice orange flavor. Now to the kind of zest sugar mix that we have, we're going to add in like the wet ingredients. They're not all wet, but it's just essentially what's left over. And so that's the orange juice, the oil, the sour cream, the vanilla, ginger, and the eggs. Just gonna give that a mix. Easy. And next we're gonna mix in the dry ingredients to the wet, and you don't wanna overmix it, just kind of like give it a nice low-key mix. And at the very end, fold in the cranberries to the batter. And now we're going to add the completed batter to a parchment-lined loaf pan. Just dump it in there. And now we're going to bake at 350 for 60 minutes, just looking for that toothpick to come out clean from the center. And then we're going to let it cool for 10 minutes in the pan, and then remove from pan and let it completely cool, sitting on a wire rack. Last but not least, we're going to make the glaze, and that just involves taking some fresh squeezed orange juice and powdered sugar. Just slowly add the orange juice to the powdered sugar while mixing it until it gets the consistency that you want. And then we're going to pour that on top of the loaf, you know, kind of starting in the middle, letting gravity do a lot of the work, and it'll just kind of naturally cascade and drip down the sides. It's very pretty, very easy, and hopefully very tasty. Now for the taste test. Obviously, as you can tell, I've eaten some of this already. First, before getting into any kind of eating, what I will point out, if you are making this for an event, like if you're taking this someplace, I would glaze the whole thing then. It looks very pretty, looks very nice. You show it to people, they're like, ooh, nice, fancy. And you've cut into it, you eat all of it, it's done. No leftovers. If you're making this for yourself, like for around the house to sit around and eat, like the situation that I had, I should have done this. I would keep the glazes separate. So like glaze and bread, keep them separate. You cut off a slice, you kind of drizzle the glaze on top, and you eat it that way. I say this because I very specifically put it facing this way, because if you look at it this way, half the glaze is gone because I wrapped it in foil to keep it airtight and try and keep it fresh. And then glaze is sticky, and so it stuck to the foil. And then when I peeled it off, half the glaze went with it. And that glaze is good. I wanted to stay on there. But yeah, so it's not like a huge deal, but it's just a little point that I'd like to make where in hindsight, I kind of wish I had done that. Let me go get a knife, cut off a slice, and we'll do the taste test. I mean, this is gonna be a quick review because it's fantastic. Not a whole lot wrong going on here. Has good cranberry flavor, has good orange flavor. What more do you need? So those are a great combo. The fact that I only really have that in cranberry sauce, I feel like is a little bit criminal. I need to do more cranberry recipes, you know, and I assume most of them will have orange involved because that is just a duo made in heaven. There is a little bit of dryness in there, but I think that's just me over baking. It was actually more prominent on day one versus today. So I wonder if the glazes maybe kind of melt a little bit and seeped into it. I mean, it tastes fantastic. And if you just have like a glass of milk, or I haven't done this yet, but I feel like it'll be really good, like a cup of tea. It's not really the most healthy of breakfast, but people like doing pastries in the morning. Having a slice of this with some tea in the morning, that would be a great winter kind of vibe. It'll, you know, keep you warm, you know, give you some caffeine. I don't do a lot of caffeine, so it'll probably wire me for the day. Nothing really wrong with this beyond just the glaze issue. If I'm being real critical, maybe just more cranberries in there, because there is a, like, I mean, you can kind of, well, I think they just drift to the bottom because they are heavier than the batter. So I wonder if that is the issue. Like, because I was gonna say the top part is a little sparse, but I wonder if it's just they sunk. So that could be it. I don't know how to solve that. Maybe if you can incorporate cranberries into the glaze somehow, that could be kind of cool. Don't know how you would do that, but it would be cool. Not a whole lot wrong with this. Pretty perfect. So I hope you go make this or something else with cranberries and orange in it, and let me know how it goes. And on that note, bye, Mom. Still not dead. See you.